So, I guess what I'm showing you is that we're doing actually quite well. But we're kind of at a crossroads, and this is what's been going on over the past 2 years with the master plan process, in which we're looking at, in our organization, what our role is after 20-something years, but also what's the role of the Downtown Commission. We've achieved a lot of the goals that were originally set out by the revitalization community. I think we all know that downtown is revitalized, so where do we go from here? And that's the master plan. And the master plan is a series of I think of it as a series of trays. You have the urban design components, the transportation components, the cultural and arts. We also have a management component. Our organization is focused on the management, excuse me. And in management, you have a series of tools inside that toolkit. So you have different contributions to fund the management, either city contributions, county contributions, NGO contributions, so non-governmental organizations like the Downtown Association, nonprofits, corporate sponsorship, things like that, membership fees. You have events that happen in the downtown that don't happen anywhere else, and who pays for those and manages those. There's all those things that happen that we need to have on the table to discuss as we go forward. Balancing those is the hard part. We like to think of it as a juggling act, that you have economic stuff, you have social stuff, you have a lot of physical things. There's cleanliness and cleaning streets and reducing panhandling, stuff like that that's much more tactile. How do you keep all of that stuff coordinated? Who manages that? Another way that I think of it is kind of like these old car ads, where you'd see an old car ad, and the more that you looked at it, you're like, wow, it's got a fuel gauge, a temperature gauge, and a gas gauge. There are certain things you expected in a car. You shouldn't have it as an add-on feature. So when we say that about our cars, we should also say that about the downtown. What is the basic things that is a non-starter that we need to have for managing downtown? When you look at other downtowns, and we'll hang this on our website, these are all the other downtowns. These are all the different things that they do. It's a much longer sheet than this, but I just want to put this image out here to show you. Asheville are these columns that are in yellow, and you have the Downtown Commission, and you have the Downtown Association, and just what we do. And you can see where we fall short compared to other organizations. Now, there's some things that we may not want to do on this chart, but we should at least have the conversation about what are the things going forward we want to see happening in the downtown, and what can we do more of. We've also have to realize what's happened with staff in that time. Since the 90s, we've gone from 5 city staff managing downtown through the Downtown Management Office. Has been cut all the way down to, when I started doing this PowerPoint presentation, it was about a half or a third of staff time. It's even less of that now. And then there's our organization, which only has a part-time staffer as well. When you add that together, it's about 1.3 staff members managing downtown. And again, looking at our peer groups, you see that we're kind of understaffing our downtown. That's something, again, to talk about. How are we going to manage this? A lot of this data that I got was fairly easy because it was really easy to call up several of these folks and find their executive director, and that person ate, breathed, slept, and died downtown. They had all the data at their fingertips. It was extremely easy to get. It's kind of puzzling that no one's put this together before, but it's amazing that how lacking it was in finding the information in Asheville. We were lucky in the fact that we had a lot of the books in our organization. And we have to think about how we're paying for this in the future. Who's paying for what, and how do you pay for things? When you look at other downtown management entities, and this is Cary. This one year, the city of Cary dumped about $3.5 million into a streetscape project for that 1 year. Kind of destroys the graph, so I'm going to go ahead and remove Cary for a second. And let's look at the other organizations. And you see that there's NGO contributions. So in the case of the Downtown Association, we raise our money by things like Downtown After 5. And all of that generally, or the great deal of that, gets folded right back into that event. So our events are kind of self-perpetuating. We also have membership dues that we charge. Our budget is essentially $212,000 a year. Other organizations have similar things. In the case of Winston-Salem, they have a much larger corporate sponsorship than we're able to attain here in Asheville. You also have county contributions, which you see in yellow. The average county contribution is about $17,000 in the sample set. You have city contributions. The average city contribution to the organization's management is about $130,000. And then you have this thing called the MSD tax, or is also commonly referred to as the Business Improvement District tax, and that's a self-taxation district that the Central Business District draws upon itself. They pick their boundary, and basically those people are taxed in that area, and that money goes right back into that area. It cannot leave that area. But that's a tool that several organizations use as well. So, in thinking about where we've been, where we're going, we have to realize that the lion's share of this was done through the community. There's been a lot of efforts that have gone on, a lot of people giving very valuable time, committing to their downtown to make this happen. And the question that I have is, are we leveraging this? Are we getting the best effort out of those other folks' efforts? And when I think about the downtown, or we kind of have a conversation about it, are we reinvesting in downtown adequately to maintain that investment? You certainly should spend some of that money. You certainly should donate some of that money that comes out of the downtown to other communities. But what's going back into the downtown? And that's the question that our organization has, as well as this study has shown. So when we have a production of $2.7 million a year to the city and $3.4 million a year to the county, how much of that is being returned as an investment back into the city or into the downtown? And that's the conversation we need to take from here moving forward. When we have an organization that's at $212,000 of funding, is that the best management that we can achieve for our downtown, or can we have a better tool? And this is something Dwight Butner had asked about overlaying this data of the expense of the organizations with the income and limitations of Microsoft Excel, so I apologize for the chart, but the line data is the revenues created, so that's this y-axis of the taxes collected. The y data on this side is the expense of the organization and how it's funded. So you'll see the different forms of contribution from MSD tax, nonprofit, city and county contributions in those bars for each city. And then you see the city and county tax revenue. And it's kind of interesting to see whether or not they match up. Is there a proportional relationship between the taxes that come in and the contribution received? So you see in the case of Raleigh, this is the city tax contribution, peaks at about here. It actually is a pretty close proportional relationship to what they invest in their downtown organization. In all of them, the county's relationship doesn't match up. What's been fun about this test is this information has been on a Google shared document that's been open to all the managers across the state. Several of them have taken this data and they're going back and having conversations with their county about the parity of this chart. And the most interesting example is Greensboro, in which they're basically saying this dark blue line is what we raise ourselves in our MSD tax. We'd like to see a match with the city and the county. Again, that's an interesting conversation. It's a neat way of looking at this data. So again, this is just the start of a longer conversation of knowing how we're going to manage ourselves in the future and how this is going to all fit together. And we have an incredible thing here in downtown Asheville, and it's this great golden goose. We just can't kill it. So that's the challenge for all of us in this room. That's a challenge as we move forward with the Downtown Association. And thank you.